for Revolti, and he is from Subtlehealing LLC. He is a holistic health counselor serving New Jersey. He believes that the cultivation of individual responsibility, supported by an active local community, will promote the growth of a healthy society. I believe the same, Chris. Using sound healing for stress management and Ayurvedic nutrition counseling, Chris's individual services and group events provide natural methods for self-healing. Creating healthy habits takes personal effort and resilient mindset. Being surrounded by supportive community helps to make this a pleasant process and promotes lasting change. I'm really excited for this because I love drums. All right, here you go. So you can take this off, and if you're speaking into it, please, because it's really noisy here, just speak right directly into it like that.
Is that movie?
Hello. Can everybody hear me okay without the mic? All right.
We need the mic. Yeah, we definitely can't hear you. Pull it right out.
Okay. I don't have to yell. So I got involved with Ayurveda about 2 years ago, and I fell in love with it. There are a lot of components to Ayurveda that all support a healthy lifestyle. It supports our physical body, and it supports the state of our mind also. So we're going to start with the foundation of Ayurveda, the 5 elements that you can find that affect the food we eat, that affect the way our body works, that affect our state of mind. They are ether, air, fire, water, and earth. They make up what's in Ayurveda called the doshas. There are 3 doshas that you'll hear a lot about, which are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. I know it's like another language, but work with me. So each of those doshas is made out of 2 elements. And each dosha then carries the characteristics of those elements, which I'll explain in a second. It'll make sense. It's not just all random stuff. Vata is ether and air. So when you think of those 2 things, you probably don't think of something solid, something grounded, something slow, right? If you think of ether like space and air, it's not too physical. It's very floaty and all over the place, kind of uncontainable, right? So the characteristics of Vata, which are ether and air, are very free-spirited, very back and forth. It's the characteristic of somebody who can go from one thing to something else completely different without a hesitation. So people who have that as a constitution, as their dominant force that leads their life, you'll see them be a UFC fighter and a nurse. 2 very polar things, but make sense for them. And they may be your friend, but they'll also, they can be the kind of friend who is back and forth. Sometimes you guys get along, sometimes you don't get along, and it's not too logical, it's just the day. What kind of day is it going to be? And that's just to illustrate the characteristic of Vata. Next would be Pitta. Pitta is fire and water. So when you think of fire, you think of fierce, right? When you think of somebody with fire, you think of somebody with passion, determination. That's a characteristic that you find in a Pitta individual, somebody who's very passionate, somebody who's very adamant about going in a certain direction. So that can be nice for pursuing a business school, that can just be nice in anything you pursue in life, right? You have that fire to move forward and make things happen. Water is this cohesive quality. When you think of sand, right? Sand is just loose, but when you add water to sand, it becomes very thick and it's held together. That's the cohesive quality of water. So when paired with that passion to move forward and make things happen, right? You also have that ability to bring things together and make real change, which is nice. So that Pitta individual is headstrong and is trying to make things happen. Then we have Kapha, the last one, which is water and earth. So again, we have that cohesive quality, and earth is very slow, right? We pay attention to what's going on in geology or science. We hear that physical earth changes very slowly. When you take a giant, when you are in a mountain or a valley, and you see these layers of rocks, they reflect thousands and thousands of years, right? Earth shifts very slowly. So that quality of slow, deliberate change and movement is reflected in people with Kapha. They make strides forward, but they're very slow and grounded, and they have their feet firmly planted on the ground. It's kind of polar to Vata individuals where they're not going to be all over the place. They're going to be pretty predictable for the most part because they're grounded and rooted in what they're doing, the way they live their life. So again, we have Vata, which are people who are very free-spirited and very all over the place, very Pitta, who are people who are very dynamic and adamant and passionate. And then we have Kapha people who are slower, who are very grounded and level-headed. So an individual, any of us, have one or more of those making up our individual constitution. And our constitution affects the way our bodies work. It affects our frame of mind. It affects the way we process things. It affects the way we digest our food, the way we process toxins in our body, the way our body type is. It reflects a lot. So when we learn what our constitution is and we can align our lifestyle habits with that constitution, we'll find things in our life happening a little more effortlessly, a little more in sync. It makes more sense, right? If we are a Vata individual and we're naturally all over the place, and then we're doing things in our life to make us even more unstable, we're going to be super unbalanced. That's no good. We want to do things that really balance that out. And when you work with a holistic health counselor, this is a part of what subtlehealing does, is you figure out what those lifestyle adjustments are to work with your constitution instead of having it work against you. So we're going to connect Ayurveda to sound healing now. I use sound healing for stress management. We just heard the bowls before. We all know how beautiful they sound, but I find that a practical use for them, for people, is sometimes hard to find. Like, how can you relate to this in a real way that can help us every day? They sound beautiful, but what can we do, right? So for me, it really came down to managing stress. That beautiful sound helps us just to melt and relax and get a fresh state of mind. So moving forward, I also try to teach people how we can use the sound along with some breath work to just return our mind to a really calm, still place so we can move forward in our day-to-day life with a little more ease. If we can learn how to just hit the reset button in a time span of 5 to 10 minutes through some conscious breath work and a little bowl that maybe you carry in your purse you have in your car, that'd be really nice, And then we'd also be able to just live more efficiently and make our lives more aligned with how we want to live our lives. So, the way sound healing links to Ayurveda goes back to those 5 elements we talked about. Each of those elements is associated with a sense perception. So starting with the first element, ether, is associated with hearing and sound. Right? The space gives this vibration the ability to make sound. The sound waves are produced. Then air is this movement, this quality of touch. When you touch something, we're getting a little deeper, I guess. You're feeling the particles move, like that's what's happening when you touch something. That's because of the air element. Then we have fire. That quality of light associated with fire allows us to see. So that's vision. Then we have water. Water is taste, right? Imagine your tongue without any water. You couldn't taste anything, you couldn't feel anything. Right? You need that water in order to taste the food. And then we have earth. Earth is smell. So when we're smelling things, we're literally sensing small particles of that thing floating through the air. We're smelling that earth element, those physical particles. And each of those has its own healing modality. So we have sound healing. Then with touch, we have massage therapy. With fire, we have color therapy. You can look into all of these books in psychology about how the color of a room or the color of our surroundings affects our mind. water nutrition therapy. Again, we do that too with Ayurvedic nutrition therapy for someone. And then, or aromatherapy, right, sense of smell. So that kind of gives you guys a background on how each of those things can help make your life a little more aligned with your natural composition. Going to sound healing. We're going to do a demonstration in just a few minutes, but I want to tell you guys about the events that I do with the sound. Sound can get you excited, right? Sound can calm you down. Sound can help us with our meditation practice because instead of trying to empty our mind, which honestly is near impossible, a lot of people who say empty your mind in meditation, it's really hard for people to understand what that means, right? Our minds are always going or always focused on something, so I found that meditation is more helpful when we learn how to have a single object of meditation and just allow that to occupy our consciousness and let everything else around us just become static and fade away. And then that sound is able to become that object of meditation. Just listen to the sound, right? Even if it's your first time, just listen to the sound, everything else that's going on, accept it, let it fade away if possible. But just place the focus, the awareness on the sound. And it just becomes very relaxing automatically. The excitement that I was talking about. One of the events that I did was a drum circle. So that's also very much stress management, but it's not relaxing in an obvious way. We're having these drums, we're banging on the drums, we're dancing if you're open to that, we're just having a good time. And that is so therapeutic, you know? It's party time but controlled in a healthy way. We do those on Friday nights in Freehold. I don't want to talk too much about scheduling. You can talk to me later if you'd like. But what I'm going to demonstrate for you here is more of the meditative sound healing. So I'm going to start that now. Still have a bit of time. So first, if everybody could sit up straight, put our hands on our lap, awesome. Close our eyes, and first, just become aware of your breath. Don't try to control it. We breathe unconsciously throughout the day, so right now, just become aware of your unconscious breathing pattern. Notice the depth of your inhale. Notice if you feel your lungs expanding. Notice if you feel your diaphragm expanding and how deep the breath is being pulled. On the exhale, notice how fully you exhale and how empty your lungs and diaphragm become. Now consciously engaging the breath. Inhaling through the nose, inflating your lungs and your diaphragm, consciously pulling the breath deep. And when we exhale, using our nose again, exhaling through our nostrils. Continuing this pattern of breathing in through our nose, feeling our lungs expand and fill with air, and pulling the breath deep through expanding our diaphragm. On every exhale, do so back through the nose, but also feel some tension release from your body. Feel your shoulders lower. Feel your arms hang a little. Feel any tension in your facial muscles. Just relax. Maybe in between the eyebrows. Maybe your cheeks. Just give yourself permission to release the tension. You don't have to put on a show for anybody. You don't have to look any kind of way. Just relax. Relax and be here in a natural way. You deserve it. As you continue to breathe in through the nose, expanding the lungs and diaphragm, and exhale back through the nose, allow the sound to occupy your mind. And make that the object of the meditation for these next few moments. Just hear the sound and allow everything else around you to fade if possible. Or if it doesn't fade, just let it exist. Just don't pursue it with your mind. Keep your mind on the sound and on your breath. feeling your lungs expand, your diaphragm pulling the breath deeply, cycling back up and back through the nose. Now if we can end this collectively as this community that I talked about in the introduction, inhaling once together and exhaling the mantra Om, if you're open to that. If not, no problem. So inhaling together. Thank you for listening. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was beautiful. It's so funny because we're going to be doing this all day with all the different speakers and coming in and out of these wonderful planes of consciousness and moving from level to level. And it's like, okay, now I just want to go to sleep and bliss out, but here we are again, ready for the next speaker. So, coming up next.